Om. Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Hari Om. Jai Gurudev. Pratasmarami Radhi Samspuradatma Tattvam Satchit Sukham Paramaham Sagatim Turiyam Yat Swapna Jagara Sushuptamaveti Nityam Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nacha Bhuta Sangha. Tapobhi kshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshoyam Atma Bodho vidiyate. Bodho sadhanebhyo hi sakshan mokshayika sadhanam pakasya vahnivajnanam vina moksho na siddhyati. Avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartayet vidya vidyam nihantyeva tejasmiti mirasanghavata. Parichinna iva jnanat tannashe sati kevalaha swayam prakashate hyatma meghapayen shumaniva. Jnanakalusham jnanabhyasad bindalam Ritva jnanam mayam nashte jalam katakarenuvata. Hari Om. So we have seen till shloka. I will just read the meaning of fifth shloka and then we will just move. Constant practice of knowledge purifies the self, Jivatman, stained by ignorance, and then disappears itself as the powder of the Kataka nut settles down after it has cleansed the muddy water. Samsara swapna tulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulaha swakale satyavadbhati prabodhe satya sadbhavet. The world which is full of attachments, aversions, etc. is like a dream. It appears to be real as long as it continues, but it appears to be unreal when one is awake. That is when true wisdom dawns. I think we were in 6th shloka, right? Anyone can tell me whether we complete one? Or we will just we will start with the 6th. Savita ji, is it okay?
Yes, yeah. We can start. Like we did the 6th shloka. We can start.
Yeah, we had completed the 6th shloka, right?
Yes.
So I'll just browse through the text. It is common knowledge that in a dream, the mind creates for itself a fanciful existence, unfulfilled desires, passions, and emotions which we carry in our minds when we go to bed often show themselves in our dreams. That is why he who has a balanced mind and who has brought his mind well under control, who is not tossed by anger, pride, and petty jealousies, likes and dislikes, does not wander away into wild dreams created by his evil mind. It is the weak person that is a victim of this unhealthy sign of unfulfilled desires and thoughts. In the dream world, we have a variety of experiences. There is that is, for a more detailed and exhaustive treatment of this dream analogy, read Swamiji's discourses on Mandukya and Karika. In the waking state also, experiences exist, but we are not prepared to accept the waking state as a prolonged dream. The reason is the firm grip which avidya has over us, preventing us from accepting the reality of the real. We are not fully qualified ourselves to understand and realize the ephemeral nature of the existence of the objects around us and of our own exact relationship with our body, mind, and intellect. The dream is quite real to us so long as we are in it. When once we wake up from it, we realize the unreality of the entire experience. Similarly, when once we go deep into the layers of the matter envelopment and experience all pervading spirit, pluralistic existence rolls off and we feel awakened to that self which alone is thereafter experienced as the real. Therefore, awake from the unreal existence by tearing asunder the ignorance, avidya, that is covering the real knowledge, and let us realize the blissful nature of our own self. तावत् सत्यं जगद्भाति शुक्तिकारजतं यथा यावन्न ज्ञायते ब्रह्म सर्वाधिष्ठानमद्वयम्. Tavat as a correlative of yavat, so long as. Satyam, true. Jagat, jagat. Bhati, appears. Shuktika rajatam, silver in the mother of pearl. Yatha, like. Yavat as a relative of tavat, as long as. No, not. Gyayate is realized. Brahma, Brahman. Sarvadhishtanam, the substratum for all. Advaya, one without a second. Tavat Satyam Jagat Bhati Shuktikarajatam Yatha Yavat Na Jnayate Brahma Sarvadhishtanam Advaya. The Jagat appears to be true, Satyam, so long as Brahman, the substratum, the basis of all this creation, is not realized. It is like the illusion of silver in the mother of pearl. So beautiful. I will just read the meaning once again. The Jagat appears to be true, Satyam, so long as Brahman, the substratum, the basis of all this creation, is not realized. It is like the illusion of silver in the mother of pearl. Like when there is a sun rays on the shiny stone, it appears like a pearl. So as long as we don't realize the true nature of our Atman, we will feel the whole Asat as Sat. Jagat is not to be understood as the gross outer world only, as we usually conceive it to be. It is the total experience of an individual in the three states of existence: the waking, dream, and deep sleep states experienced through the different types of equipments: physical, mental, and intellectual. In short, Jagat includes the world of objects cognized for enjoyment as forms, smells, etc., through the sense organs, as feelings and emotions experienced by the mind, and as ideas and ideologies lived by the intellect. The total experiences gained through our gross, subtle, and causal bodies is Jagat. So I will just read once again. What we experience through our sense organs, it is Jagat. Jagat is not to be understood as the gross outer world only, as we usually conceive it to be. It is the total experience of an individual in the three states of existence: the waking, dream, and deep sleep states experienced through the different types of equipments: physical, mental, and intellectual. In short, Jagat includes the world of objects cognized for enjoyment as forms, smells, etc., through the sense organs, as feelings and emotions experienced by the mind, and as ideas and ideologies lived by the intellect. The total experiences gained through our gross, subtle, and causal bodies is Jagat. So what we experience through our physical, gross, and subtle body is Jagat. Anyone can explain it in a better term? Kindly come forward and explain. I'm really sorry. I will not be able to explain the way Brahmaraji beautifully explains it in a very simple words. As long as one has not entered into the divine state of God consciousness through the realization of one absolute truth, which is the substratum for all, that is Sarvadhishtan, which pervades all manifestations, so long does the Jagat appear to be very true and fully real. As long as we are in the dream state, we cannot believe that the dream we are experiencing is unreal. I repeat this line. As long as one has not entered into the divine state of God consciousness through the realization of the one absolute truth, which is the substratum for all, Sarva Dishthan, which pervades all manifestations, so long does the Jagat appear to be very true and fully real. So unless we are able to realize that one absolute truth, that is Sarva Bhutastha, the one who is pervading in all the things and things around us, till then we will continue to perceive Jagat as very real. As long as we are in the dream state, we cannot disbelieve that the dream we are experiencing is unreal. So true. When we are sleeping and when we get dream, it is our own manifestation, but still we feel it so real and we cannot disbelieve that it was unreal till we wake up to the reality. When once we get up from the dream, we do not again mourn for what we might have lost in the dream or rejoice over what we might have gained therein. Also, just as on waking up, all the variety experienced in the dream state vanishes to become one with the waking mind, so too on our spiritual awakening, all the plurality of this multiple world and all our different experiences will merge into that one supreme essence, the substratum for everything. So the one which is Sarva Adhishthana. So once we wake up, we realize that it was all one. Like in the dream, we may get lottery. So we cannot continue once we wake up with the feeling, with the reality that we have won the lottery. And the same as for the loss as well. In the dream, if we feel that we have lost something, but once we wake up, we realize that it was just a dream. So we neither mourn for what we have lost during the dream, nor we rejoice over the gain what we had in the dream once we wake up. So spiritual awakening, once we realize that it's all one, the Adhisthana is one for everything around us, then there will be no question of mourning or rejoicing. When we have realized this supreme truth and have begun to experience the presence of the eternal God principle, the infinite reality, the highest plan of pure consciousness which runs in and through us and everywhere, we no more mistake the Jagat as real or as existing apart from that. Just as no more mistake the mother of pearl to be a silver piece when we have once recognized its worthless calcium content. So Swamiji is beautifully explaining here that the way calcium content, when the sun rays falls on it, it appears like a silver piece. But once we know the reality, then we do not consider it as a silver piece. So once we realize the pure consciousness which runs in and through us everywhere, we no more mistake the Jagat as real. In the illusion of a snake on a rope, without the rope, the substratum, the superimposition of the snake is impossible. Likewise, without the self, the supreme, which is immortal, imperceptible, and changeless, and which is referred to here as the substratum, adhisthana, even the delusion of a Jagat is not possible. I will just repeat once again. In the illusion of a snake on a rope, without the rope, the substratum, the superimposition of the snake is impossible. Likewise, without the self, the Supreme, which is immortal, imperceptible, and changeless, and which is referred to here as the substratum, Adhisthana. Even the delusion of a Jagat is not possible. So here Swamiji is beautifully explaining that we have the basis, which is one only, the super, the self, that is the immortal and imperceptible and changeless, and without which we cannot even perceive the unreal. So the delusion of the snake on a rope is not possible without the rope as the basis, as the substratum. And in the same way, without the self, even the Jagat is not, delusion of a Jagat is not possible. If anyone would like to share their understanding, kindly unmute and share.
Jai Gurudev. The Jagat which we perceive, it is through our senses, it's through our mind, and it's through our physical forms, which Swamiji has described. So the Jagat which we perceive is perceived through these mind, body, and intellect. Whatever we perceive through these, that is our Jagat. And the substratum is our own, the Atma, which is, if the Atma is there, then all this perception can be possible. Because once the Atma leaves the body, but there will be no perception of any of these things. So the substratum is the Atma, which is necessary to perceive the Jagat. So this example of a snake on the rope, the rope being the substratum, because until unless the substratum is not there, you cannot superimpose the snake. The superimposition of the snake would not be possible. Yeah, Jai Gurudev,
So
this is
we
what
can look at the example of the screen and the movie, right? The screen is the substratum on which you project this movie. Same way. So what they're saying is the consciousness is that screen on which we have, by delusion, projected this Jagat. And that's what we think is the real thing and keep remaining in delusion. The moment that delusion goes over, it's like waking up from dream. Then you see the screen. Then you know, oh, this is what it is. This is how I understand it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So it's just the medium. If we require the medium, that the medium is that Adhisthana, the self, the Supreme.
You can.
Yeah, Dhanyavad. Very nice. Upadane khiladhare jaganti parameshware sargasthiti layanyanti budbudani varini. Upadane, which is the material cause, akhiladhare, which is the support of everything, jaganti, the worlds, parameshware, in the supreme self, sargasthiti layan, rising, existing and dissolving, yanti, pass away, budbudani, bubbles, eva, like, varini, in the waters. Upadane akhiladhare jaganti parameshware sargasthiti layan yanti budbudani eva varini. Like bubbles in the water, the worlds rise, exist and dissolve in the Supreme Self, which is the material cause and the prop of everything. I read once again the meaning. Like bubbles in the water, the worlds rise, exist, and dissolve in the Supreme Self, which is the material cause and the prop of everything. Hindu thinkers of the past seem to have given a more serious attention to the principle of creation than many of the other religionists. Their acute analytical approach to problems of life can, in its thoroughness and completeness, beat even many of the modern scientific methods. Please let me know if there is breaking of voice, because there is continuous message coming on my screen. Just let me know, I will repeat the paragraph. Nothing new is ever created by anyone. The change of form, name, nature, and conditions is all that is creation. Reconversion alone is creation. In thus creating a thing, three essential factors are necessary, and they are together in their aggregate called as the cause. This is very important. Please pay attention. I will repeat once again the paragraph. Nothing new is ever created by anyone. The change of form, name, nature, and conditions is all that is creation. Reconversion alone is creation. In thus creating a thing, three essential factors are necessary, and they are together in their aggregate called as the cause. In any creation, three types of causes must come into play: the material cause, the efficient cause, and the instrumental cause. In the case of a potter making a pot on his will with mud, the potter is the efficient cause, the will is the instrumental cause, and the mud is the material cause. Upadana Karana. In all pot creations in the world, the potter is separate from the mud in the creative process of the finite emerging from the infinite. The material cause and the efficient cause are one and the same. Just as bubbles in water are but water rising in water, existing in water, and when they burst, merging back to become water, so too are the plurality cognized by the body, mind, intellect, all a play of names and forms upon the infinite consciousness, the eternal substratum divine. This is a beautiful paragraph. I'll just read once again. So in any creation, three types of causes must come into play: the material cause, the efficient cause, and the instrumental cause. In the case of a potter making a pot on his will with mud, the potter is the efficient cause, the will is the instrumental cause, and the mud is the material cause. Upadana Karana. In all pot creations in the world, the potter is separate from the mud in the creative process of the infinite emerging from the infinite. I'm sorry, I'll read once again. In all pot creations in the world, the potter is separate from the mud in the creative process of the finite emerging from the infinite. The material cause and the efficient cause are one and the same. Just as bubbles in water are but water rising in water, existing in water, and when they burst, merging back to become water, so too are the plurality cognized by the body, mind, intellect, all a play of names and forms upon the infinite consciousness, the eternal substratum divine. So it's all beautifully explained by Swamiji that there are three causes which are essential, and the efficient cause, instrumental cause, and the material cause. The way the potter requires the will as an instrument, the material cause, upadana. But when we say that it all, when once it is, when we have different forms of, I mean, different pots in different colors and different forms, same way, the whole Jagat is appearing as different, but the cause behind all of them, it is the same as one infinite consciousness. That is the eternal supreme reality, which is self-existent and self-evident. But the Supreme Brahman undergoes no change, it being absolute. It can suffer no modification in itself. How can then the world of multiplicity originate from that Brahman? It can only be an appearance. There is no real manifestation, surely, no factual creation. I will repeat, but the Supreme Brahman undergoes no change, it being absolute. It can suffer no modification in itself. How can then the world of multiplicity originate from that Brahman? It can only be an appearance. There is no real manifestation, surely, no factual creation. So even if this whole Jagat is created, the Supreme Brahman undergoes no change, it being the absolute. It remains the same. It remains akhanda. Anyone explain better? Come forward and explain, please.
No, I think that example of the bubbles rising out of the water, the ocean is water, right? In that you
Yes.
find bubbles or waves, whatever you call, those rise, exhibit their whatever nature is, and then it goes back into the ocean. So the consciousness, as I understand, is that you can look at it as the ocean, and all these things in the Jagat that we see are like those bubbles. The ocean by itself has not undergone any change, isn't it? In that some things are rising, they are there for some time and again goes back into the ocean. So these are Jagat, all that we see around is all that some kind of manifestation of that supreme consciousness coming, exhibiting whatever that is there, and then goes back into that. So it is not, meaning at some point we will probably get to realize that it's like the divine dream, maybe. In the dream, we construct many things, right? But it's all, but the moment you wake up, you realize that kuch bhi nahi hai. So this whole Jagat is also like a dream of the divine, you can say. He makes all these things and then finally at Laya, it all merges back. There's nothing really so-called real. Okay, for us now, everything will appear real. That's a different story, but that's the concept that I think Swamiji is explaining.
Yeah, so beautifully explained, Vijayji. Dhanyavad. Yeah, Budbudani, like the bubbles, it again merges back to the ocean, which is the one. Yeah.
Correct. And there is no separate creator or the, yeah, efficient cause is no different from the material cause. Both are the same, right? It's coming together, going back.
How can you explain, like, the potter is said to be the efficient cause and mud is the material cause. But in case of water, like water of the ocean, the bubbles, in that he said that efficient cause and the material
is the
cause
same.
are the same. But in case of Potter, it is different. Can you explain this?
Yeah, Potter explanation is for explaining the difference between the clay and the pot. Look, pot itself, there is nothing called pot, right? What is pot? Pot is nothing but a form given to that clay. What is the real thing behind it is the clay. But here the potter is brought in as the efficient cause. He or whoever the potter is creating the pot. But in the Jagat and the concept of consciousness, he says the material cause and the efficient cause are the same. There is no separate someone creating it. The creator got merged into the creation. It's like, better example maybe I've heard somewhere is the spider. The spider creating the web creates it out of itself, right? It doesn't bring the material from somewhere. The spider itself from itself creates the web. That's how the divine himself, herself, or itself, whatever you call it, itself became the Jagat. Maybe it's little difficult to completely comprehend the whole thing, but I am sure with the knowledge again and again going in, we can see there is something. Means now the world might appear to us very real, but that's not the truth, is what all the enlightened saints are saying, right? They also keep saying, yes, for us now everything appears real. Somebody in satsang the other day was asking, for you all this must be looking like a drama, no? He says, yes, and I want you all to see like that. So when you are in that space, then this appears all these concrete things that we think is all real, is you will see, yeah, ये सब बुदबुदा है, आया जाएगा, bubbles rising in the water. It will happen if we use the intellect at this stage. Maybe a lot of questions might come. So at this point, maybe kuch jaan ke chalo, kuch maan ke chalo, and eventually it will become a reality.
Thank you.
Jai Gurudev. Thank you for that explanation, Jaiji. Also in Tattva Bodh, we learned that when the efficient cause and the material cause are the same, the creation is mithya. It cannot be real. Whereas with in the finite world, when you take the example of the potter and the mud, the potter is different. Efficient cause is different from the material cause. Whereas with respect to the finite world being created from the infinite, where from Brahman you have Maya is the Upadana Karana, and because of that the world is created. Maya is nothing but his own creative power. So he is the efficient cause, also the material cause. It is just like the mirage or the rope on the snake. The only difference between this creation and the potter and the pot being created, here there is that element of Maya that comes in, that illusion that comes in, and that is what makes the world mithya. I'm not sure whether it's coming across the way it has to be, but when the efficient cause and the material cause are the same, the creation that comes out of it is but mithya.
It's like Brahmaraji, I think the dream, right?
Yeah.
Dream. So who the creator, the creation, everything is the same. Efficient cause and the material cause in that case also is the same.
Correct.
That's the same thing that Jagat also is at some point when we really wake up, we get awakened, then we see that like that.
It is Yatpinde Tad Brahmande, right? So what we are experiencing day to day in our dream world, when we sleep and have this dream world, that when you extrapolate it to the Brahman, like you said rightly, probably this whole the world that we're experiencing, you, me, and everybody out there, is part of the dream of that one. And each of us is that one, only that we are not realizing it. It is like we are all individual characters in the dream, and we're looking at plurality. We are not able to look at that singularity. We are not able to look at that the one. And once that veil of ignorance, what is the one that is veiling all of this? Is that veil of ignorance. So once that is removed, then I think all of this merges into just one. And then everything merges into one. There is no efficient cause, material cause. Everything is just one. That it merges into that Advaita. Just like when the waker wakes up, where does the dreamer dissolve? The dreamer dissolves in the waker. So there'll be only one waker at that point. But for all the rest of us who are still caught up in this ignorance, it will continue. It will, as though this world is real and everything else is in it happening, and all our joys and sorrows, all of that will continue. That drama will continue.
So it's like the potter is the efficient cause, means that the supreme, which is the bigger consciousness, is the efficient cause, and the mud is the material cause, means that the part of consciousness which is present in us, it is a part of that big supreme consciousness. And so hence the efficient and the material cause would be the same. Like the same consciousness is there, we are just a part of it, and in this way the efficient and material cause would be the same. Am I right?
Yeah, in a way, correct. Because ultimately your universe, the way you look at the world, is different from the way I look at the world. And the fact that you are able to see the world differently, I'm able to, is because each of us has, it is because of the consciousness that this is also possible. It is like the ocean, the water in the ocean is the same. That is the substratum, all the whole infinite consciousness, if you liken it to the ocean. Now you, me, and everybody else out here are like different bubbles, different size bubbles, so to say. But it is the water which is running through each of us that makes the bubble also happen. So what you said should also be right.
The only thing is that there are no different parts really, actually, if you see. Though we might now think it's all different, maybe at the Vyavaharika level, it all seems different. But eventually, the Satyam, we call it the Vyavaharika Satyam, right? What we see in this physical world. But eventually, when you get into the Paramarthika Satyam, then you see that everything is there. This consciousness is where everything appears. Like on the screen, movie appears. Like that, in consciousness, everything appears and then merges into it. It's difficult to maybe exactly explain it in words, till we experience it. But it will slowly come, is what I guess. Like somebody said that if we are able to watch between two thoughts, look, constantly thoughts are coming, right? There is constant flow of thoughts. But if we are able to catch something between the two thoughts, then that's where we will actually see that these thoughts are all appearing in that same Brahman. Then that exactly what is that Brahman? If you have to see, you have to catch it between the two thoughts. So I don't know, maybe it's not coming out the way I understood it, but it's something we have to realize. There is a background in which all this is appearing like a movie. All that Jagat that we see is all like a movie happening in the Brahman. आस्ते आस्ते आएगा. Because once we realize that, then realization हो गया. Correct? We are now in the journey. So initially we'll have some clarity required, but if we slowly understand this thing as a concept at this stage, then with this knowledge that we are going through, it will probably make more sense.
Yeah. In order for us to have the vritti jnana, this is required. With the pramana, the shastra is required for us to get this vritti jnana of tattvamasi or aham brahmasmi. And then slowly, even like yesterday when we read, like that kataka renuvat, jalam kataka renuvat, even that vritti jnana, once that self-knowledge dawns, that will also disappear, because that also is a thought. It is also a modification. So even that thought settles down, and what dawns is self-knowledge when that also settles down. Bela, are you able to read, or should I continue?
I can read, Brahmaraji.
Are you not going for the Kriya today?
No, there is no. The teacher is out.
Okay, fine. In case you require to, let me know. I'll take it over.
Yeah. I can just read, Brahmaraji. The explanation is required. Kindly help it.
Yeah.
Shall I read further?
Yes, I think we can go further. No?
सच्चिदात्मन्यनुस्यूते नित्ये विष्णौ प्रकल्पिताः व्यक्तयो विविधाः सर्वा हाटके कटकादिवत् सच्चिदात्मनि, whose nature is existence, intelligence, anusyute, which is all pervading, nitye, eternal, Vishnu, upon Vishnu, one whose stride is the largest, prakalpitaha, projected by imagination, vyaktayah, manifested, vividhaha, manifold, sarvaha, all, hatake, out of gold, katakadivat, just as bracelets and other ornaments. Satchidatmani anusyute nitye Vishnau prakalpitaha vyaktayah vividhaha sarvaha hatake katakadivat. All the manifested world of things and beings are projected by imagination upon the substratum, which is the eternal, all-pervading Vishnu, whose nature is existence, intelligence, just as the different ornaments are all made out of the same gold. I will repeat once again the meaning. All the manifested world of things and beings are projected by imagination upon the substratum, which is the eternal, all-pervading Vishnu, whose nature is existence, intelligence, just as the different ornaments are all made out of the same gold. An ordinary gross mind can never lift itself up to grasp easily the subtle truths of the highest Vedanta. Very frequently, innumerable examples are to be repeated to push the subtle philosophical ideas into the comprehension of an ordinary intellect. When they are quite apt, the students become pleasantly asked at the revelations, and the truth becomes more and more clear to them. So an ordinary gross mind can never lift itself up to grasp easily the subtle truths of the highest Vedanta. Very frequently, innumerable examples are to be repeated to push the subtle philosophical ideas into the comprehension of an ordinary intellect. When they are quite apt, the students become pleasantly aghast at the revelations, and the truth becomes more and more clear to them. So once we realize that behind every creation, there is only one supreme self, then we just go into that state of wow, wonderment only. Our questioning mind becomes silent. In any creation, there must be, as we have already noted, three fundamental and separate causes. A, the material cause or the raw material. B, the instrumental cause, the equipment with which the object is created. And C, the efficient cause, the intelligence that creates or works at the material with the instruments. Please remember the material, instrumental, and efficient causes of the creation. They are the fundamental, three fundamental causes. In all creations, the three causes exist separately, and the material cause transforms itself into the created new thing. But in the case of the creation of the world, the objects created are not different from the creator. The material cause, the one supreme Paramatman, itself manifests as different objects, for in the infinitude of its existence, there cannot be a second infinite. I'll just repeat the last line. The material cause, the one supreme Paramatman, itself manifests as different objects, for in the infinitude of its existence, there cannot be a second infinite. The waves in the ocean cannot claim a separate existence apart from the waters of the ocean. Likewise, this outer world and our own world of experience in the physical, mental, and intellectual spheres rise from, exist in, and merge back into that one supreme awareness which glows in everybody, and like the bubbles that form and burst upon the surface of the water, different experiences in different bosoms rise and fall before that one consciousness only. I'll just read once again the paragraph. The waves in the ocean cannot claim a separate existence apart from the waters of the ocean. Likewise, this outer world and our own world of experiences in the physical, mental, and intellectual spheres rise from, exist in, and merge back into that one supreme awareness which glows in everybody, and like the bubbles that form and burst upon the surface of the water, different experiences in different bosoms rise and fall before that one consciousness. Here, Vishnu is not to be understood as the four-armed divine deity of the Trinity, as the Puranas often describe. No doubt when we conceive of a shape of the pence to the gold, when a gold ring goes out of shape, or even when the ring is melted, so too, even when the entire universe tumbles down, nothing happens to the eternal reality. It is ever changeless, immutable. So beautiful. Here, I will just repeat the last paragraph. Here, Vishnu is not to be understood as the four-armed divine deity of the Trinity, Tridev, as the Puranas often describe. No doubt, when we conceive of a shape of the pence to the gold, when a gold ring goes out of shape, or even when the ring is melted, so too, even when the entire universe tumbles down, nothing happens to the eternal reality. It is ever changeless, immutable. So, even the Pralaya, the ultimate reality, the eternal reality remains the same, changeless, akhanda. And we should not perceive Vishnu just as the one who has those traits like Asura, like Nanaji used to say, then don't perceive him by meditating as just Mr. Krishna, the one who is Asuri and the one who is having more pitch. Perceive him as the Ananta, who is beyond Adi Anta Madhya Rahita. यथाकाशो ऋषिकेशो नानोपाधिगतो विभुः तद्भेदाग्निन्न भवद्भाति तद्भेदात्. I'm sorry, I think I am not able to read correctly.
Tadvedad bhinnavad bhati tannashe kevalo bhavet.
तद्भेदा भिन्नवद् भाति तन्नाशे केवलो भवेत्. Yatha, just as, Akashah, space, Rishikeshah, the omnipresent truth, Nanopadhigatah, associated with various conditionings, Vibhuhu, the all-pervading, Tad Bhedat, on account of their upadhis, manifold nature, distinct from each other. Bhinnavad bhati, appears to be diverse. Tannashe, on the destruction of these upadhis. Kevalaha, one. Bhavet, becomes. Yatha akashah Rishikeshah Nanopadhigatah Vibhuhu Tadbhedat Bhinnavad bhati Tannashe Kevalah Bhavet. The all-pervading Akasha appears to be diverse on account of its association with various conditionings, upadhis, which are different from each other. Space becomes one on the destruction of these limiting adjuncts. So also the omnipresent truth appears to be diverse on account of association various upadhis and becomes one on the destruction of these upadhis. I read once again. The all-pervading Akasha appears to be diverse on account of its association with various conditionings, upadhis, which are different from each other. Space becomes one on the destruction of these limiting adjuncts. So also the omnipresent truth appears to be diverse on account of its association with the various upadhis and becomes one on the destruction of these upadhis. I think Nanaji had given here the example of a rainbow or anything which is there in the sky. Nothing touches the sky, right? It remains untouched and it remains the same. Behind all this seeming multiplicity of existence and the manifold nature of our experience, the one unchanging substratum persists in all its splendor. This we variously call as the Brahman, the Paramatman, the Sat Chit Ananda, etc. This Supreme Being alone is the dynamic truth, and no differentiation is possible in this state of absolute reality. How then do we come to feel the plurality in the outer world of innumerable objects which we experience now as so real? If the spirit that pulsates through all the objects in and around us is that one without a second, why this conflict is being created by the perception of plurality in us? I will read once again these two questions. When there is this Supreme Being alone is the dynamic truth, and no differentiation is possible in this state of absolute reality. How then do we come to feel the plurality in the outer world of innumerable objects which we experience now as so real? If the spirit that pulsates through all the objects in and around us is at one without a second, why this conflict is being created by the perception of plurality in us? Discover the necessary courage to inquire in this fashion, because we are not prepared to accept all statements of truth merely because they had been declared the ancient and the learned. Both our head and heart must assimilate any new idea before they can become really our own. And in fact, then alone can these philosophical ideas readily reach our heart to guide us in our day-to-day life and its transactions. I will read once again because it is important. We discover the necessary courage to inquire in this fashion because we are not prepared to accept all statements of truth merely because they had been declared by the ancient and the learned. Both our head and heart must assimilate any new idea before they can become really our own. And in fact, then alone can these philosophical ideas readily reach our heart to guide us in our day-to-day life and its transactions. So I think our Janmo Janma Smriti, it doesn't make us realize that there is only one consciousness behind all the creation, because we have so much of smritis in our due to our purva janma sanskaras, and even in the present in the when we are living in the world of plurality, we accumulate so many sanskaras and we are conditioned to that sanskaras, and we are not able to accept that truth that there is only one supreme which is pulsating behind the whole creation. So unless it becomes our very own experience, then only we will be able to feel that wow, feel that wonderment.
Here, the aspect of both head and heart are brought in. It is not something that you can only intellectually understand. You have to also feel it or experience it. Have that glimpse. Yeah.
Yeah. The word Rishikesha can be interpreted both in its mythological tradition as well as in its ancient usage.
I'm not sure whether
Taking
it's
it,
only for me, Jai Gurudev. Bella, your voice is breaking a bit.
yeah, there is a constant message which is every day like unstable network. Now
Yeah.
also it
In
keeps.
between, it is okay, but it is getting broken in more or less.
You want to continue, Brahmaraji?
Yeah, let me. It's
Or
on
I
this.
can share and you wish to read?
Yeah. You can share, Bella, for now.
Yeah, I will continue to share.
The word Rishikesha can be interpreted both in its mythological tradition as well as in its ancient usage. Taking it as Hris plus Kesha, it means one whose hair is short. In the battlefield at Kurukshetra, we meet the Lord with all his curly hairs rolled up or clipped. In the ancient sense, the term Rishikesha can be dissolved as Rishika plus Isha, Rishikesha. No doubt, Rishika is an old and obsolete word meaning sense organs, and so the epithet means Lord of our sense organs. The sense organs can function only so long as the life exists in us. So long as the self, which is the Lord of the senses, reigns in this body, so long only are we enabled to see, smell, touch, speak, etc. It is the one and only spark of life that pervades everything. Without the flow of its enlivening spirit, nothing will operate in this body or exist in the outside world. That principle of life, that universal spirit, that all-pervading Brahman is worthily called Vibhu, meaning the all-pervading. So there are two interpretations to Rishikesha. One is the short curly haired one, that is Hrish is short and Kesha is hair. So that is one interpretation mythologically about Krishna, the one that we see in Bhagavatam and Mahabharata, where he comes with his short curly hair. Whereas the other ancient meaning is Rishika is sense organs and Isha is the Lord. So the Lord of the senses, that means the one that has the reason why the sense organs function also is because of his presence. It is because of the presence of the all-pervading Vibhu in us that our senses are even able to see, smell, touch, hear, talk. Yeah, you can go up on the all-pervading, I think a little down, yeah. This all-pervading Vibhu, truth, the Brahman, appears to be the pluralistic world, as we have many times stated, because of the various conditionings, upadhis, through which it functions. For example, we construct different rooms in the vast open space, Akasha, and then we recognize distinct compartments in the one space as the drawing room, the bedroom, living room, etc. And then we ourselves come to treat the one Akasha as a multiple factor. We consider the numerous small spaces created by such a division as so many different room spaces. But when the walls are pulled down, the room spaces having separate individual existence end. But thereby, the Akasha in none of them is destroyed. The room spaces become the one all space. So basically, the reason why we see the all-pervading, unchanging entity Brahman as different in this pluralistic world is because of the conditioning, because of the upadhis. Just like how we construct different spaces, different rooms by creating walls in that one space and call it drawing room, bedroom, kitchen, etc. But once the walls are broken down, once you remove the conditioning, once you remove the upadhis, it all merges into just that one space. And that one space does not get destroyed. Similarly, when an individual ego associates with its various limiting factors, upadhis, the cause for this world of plurality comes to manifest. When once these forces of limitation are destroyed, the one truth that is the basis of existence for everything shines forth as the one sun of all the world, and it, the one dynamic truth of life, is rediscovered as functioning through all the existence. Without it, there is no existence, and with this Vibhu, everything comes to exist. The Atman is one and the same before and after its realization. But when it groans under certain imaginary limitations, all due to the wrong estimations of the distorting mind, we superimpose upon it certain upadhis. And when these false limitations are removed, it is realized and rediscovered as the one self, ever dwelling everywhere. I think I will read the last two paragraphs one more time. Similarly, when an individual ego associates with its various limiting factors, upadhis, the cause for this world of plurality comes to manifest. When once these forces of limitation are destroyed, the one truth that is the basis of existence for everything shines forth as the one sun of all the world, and it, the one dynamic truth of life, is rediscovered as functioning through all the existence. Without it, there is no existence, and with this Vibhu, everything comes to exist. The Atma is one and the same before and after its realization. But when it groans under certain imaginary limitations, all due to the wrong estimations of the distorting mind, we superimpose upon it certain upadhis. And when these false limitations are removed, it is realized and rediscovered as the one self, ever dwelling everywhere. Yeah, I think we will stop Atma Bodha readings here for today. We'll just close our eyes and reflect on what we have learned so far. Jai Gurudev. Yeah, maybe we can share our takeaways. Regarding the upadhis, what comes to my mind is very simply put by Gurudev, the 7 levels of existence. the more we are identified with all the other 6 layers of existence, we are caught up in this world. But once when we identify with the self, the 7th level, then there is that merging in that one. Otherwise, we will continue to be like the waves in the ocean. Bela, can we just read the shlokas that we have covered today? I think we've covered what, from 8, is it? 7 or 8?
7.
7
7.
counts. Meanwhile, if anyone else wants to share, you can share.
All these shlokas covered, but basically all related that the supreme consciousness is there, and we have to acknowledge that all the mind, body, intellect through which we get muddled up in the mind, body, intellect. We have to realize, and the line which was mentioned, you read it, Dr. Kamra, both our head and heart must assimilate any new idea before they can become really our own. So it's the realization through our head and heart that we must connect with the supreme consciousness, though it is already stated and we have read so far we are still reading, but to assimilate it and to recognize that this is the truth. You have to have practice at the heart level and your intellect level, that this is the truth, and for this a lot of practice and lot of perseverance and patience and knowledge and discipline. I think everything is needed so that we can assimilate, we can imbibe this fact that we are just one consciousness. To realize this one thing, it will take many lives, I think. Jai Gurudev.
See, when we talk of the head and heart, head, what comes to mind is knowledge and everything. Whereas when you talk of the heart, it is feelings, emotions, bhakti. So we require an amalgamation of knowledge, jnana, as well as bhakti in order for us to realize. It is not just having a concept in our mind that will enable us to, rather than knowledge, I would think head means concepts, intellectual concepts, conceptualizing the whole thing. Whereas just having those bookish knowledge is not going to be enough. It's not enough. You have to have that element of devotion, of faith, that Shraddha should be there. And it's more very subtle. It's more the feeling level, more the experiential level, isn't it, when we talk about the heart? And this is what this is what is the main basis in all our advanced courses, where you move from your head to the heart. And this is also described in the Chin Mudra, wherein the index finger bends down and touches the thumb, where the head comes down and merges with the heart. So I suppose we need to be in that state of be in that hollow and empty space, come from that space of innocence, in order for us to assimilate this knowledge. Anyone else wants to share, or should we go to
I got a small insight into what is Jagat today. That is, it is your physical, mental, and causal body. All three is Jagat. Till now, I wasn't thinking that way. Thank you.
Brahmaraji, would you like to read the shlokas, what we covered today, or anyone would like to read the shloka, since my internet is, the voice is breaking?
I will. 1 second. I don't know whether, we'll. Tavat satyam jagad bhati shuktikarajatam yatha yavan jnayate brahma sarvadhishthanamadvayam. The Jagat appears to be true, Satyam, so long as Brahman, the substratum, the basis of all this creation, is not realized. It is like the illusion of silver in the mother of pearl. Upadani khiladhare jaganti parameshware sargastitilayan yanti buddhudani vavarini. Like bubbles in the water, the worlds rise, exist, and dissolve in the Supreme Self, which is the material cause and the prop of everything. Satchidatmanyanusyute nitye Vishnau prakalpitaha vyaktayo vividha sarvaha hatake katakadivat. All the manifested world of things and beings are projected by imagination upon the substratum, which is the eternal, all-pervading Vishnu, whose nature is existence, intelligence, just as the different ornaments are all made out of the same gold. Yatha kasho hrishikesho nanopadhigato vibhuhu tadbhedat bhinnavat bhati tannashe kevalo bhavet. The all-pervading Akasha appears to be diverse on account of its association with various conditionings, upadhis, which are different from each other. Space becomes one on the destruction of these limiting adjuncts. So also, the omnipresent truth appears to be diverse on account of its association with the various upadhis and becomes one on the destruction of these upadhis. I think we will have to do this from tomorrow. From shloka level, we'll take up tomorrow.
Just give me 2 minutes. I will share the
I
chapter
will
6.
share. I'll share Bhagavad Gita, Bela. Don't worry.
No,
I've already opened the.
as-
I think yesterday Dr. Mara very beautifully explained shloka number 11 and 12. Today it is shloka 13. Yes, go ahead, Bela. I think you wanted to.
yeah. No, it's okay. I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, धन्यवाद. समं कायशिरो ग्रीवं धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशश्चानवलोकयन् प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारी व्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसीत मत्परः. It's a beautiful shloka. I will just read once the Pratipadartha. Kaya Shiro Grivam, body, head and neck, Samam, in one straight line, Achalam, without moving, Dharayan, holding, Sthiraha, Sun, being firm, Swam, Nasikagram, the tip of one's nose, Samprekshya, as though looking at, Dishaha cha, and directions, Anavalokayan, not looking, Prashantatma, one whose mind is tranquil, Vigata Bihi, one who is free from fear, Brahmachari Vrate Sthitaha, being established in one's commitment to the life of a brahmachari. Manah, mind, sanyamya, controlling, mata chittaha, thinking of me, mat paraha, having me as the ultimate goal. Yuktaha, yogi, meditator, asid, maybe, or he or she, sit. Holding oneself firm without moving, holding the body, head and neck in one straight line as though looking at the tip of one's nose and not looking in all directions, being the one whose mind is tranquil, who is free from fear, established in one's commitment to the life of a brahmachari. May that yogi, meditator, sit thinking of me, having me as the ultimate goal. So here, Swamiji has explained very well the first condition, that achala and sthira. Your mind should be still. The stillness of the mind is given more emphasis here. And when Bhagwan is saying that sampreksha nasikagram, it doesn't mean that you have to look at your tip of the nose. It means you neither have to look up, down, nor left, right. You have to keep your body straight, firm, with a back straight, and you have to, the condition is not that you have to close your eyes or keep it open. You can keep it as you feel, but your mind and your body both should be sthir. Stillness is given more emphasis here. So here, during the meditation, when your body is achala, sthira, then you can meditate with mata chitta, mata para. Means you have to focus on only me and me alone. Me means that Parameshwara, that Paramatma. And who can do that? The one who is prashanta manah, the one whose mind or the antakarana has become pure, the one who has become Shuddha, Shuddha Antakarana. He will be able to sit with that stillness, with that Nishchala Mana. And here again, then only he will be able to have that tranquility. Then only he will be able to gain that Shanti, for which there are further discussions as well. That then he will be able to get that Shanti, which will be the result of that meditation and the knowledge, dhyana and the knowledge, jnana also. So then only he will be able to have. So the condition is Nishchala Mana, sthirness, the stillness of the mind, and Prashant Mana, the mind which is pure, the Antakaran which is Shuddha, which doesn't have any Raga Dvesha, which is free from likes and dislikes, which has become completely free from Raga Dvesha, then only you can be Prashanta Manaha. So please remember this word, that you have to sit still, not only with the body, but also with the sthir mind. Single focused, single pointedness. And then Swamiji continues that he continues as mumukshu. And then when he continues as mumukshu, then he becomes, once he has become with pure antakarana, prashant mana, then he becomes the vigata bihi, very beautiful word Swamiji has explained. He is a person who is a karma yogi and a brahmachari who doesn't have any fear, because from his mind, because of his prashanta manaha, his mind, there is no fear of duality. When you are having the feeling of others, you will be always living in that fear that what will happen to me, to my family, my surrounding. But once when you have accepted that there is only one consciousness, then you become fearless. You become vigata bihi. Then that fearlessness comes and you become prashant mana, and you achieve that stillness of mind as well, along with the body. So here one more condition Swamiji is mentioning, brahmachari vrate sthitah vigata bihi, the one who remains committed to his role as a shishya for the guru, who has the faith in Guru Vakya, the one who has faith in Guru's statements, and he continues Guru Shushrusha. So he continues doing his Guru's work. And along with that, he also continues studying the Shastra. And during that, he does Shravana and Manana, so that he can continuously keep his mind, body, and intellect as single focused. Mata Chitta, Mata Atma. He remains single focused. Mata Chitto Yukta Asita. Bhagwan is here little, I feel he is becoming little possessive. He feels that only in me, our mind and body should remain only in him, that Parmeshwara, that Paramatma who is one, and we have to remain committed to that Paramatma and Brahman. I think there is more also, but I have completed only till here. I think I will read little more, and there is for that Brahma Vakyas are there, Shastra Vakyas, in which we have to have further understanding, which I think I will do it tomorrow.
Wonderful, Leela. This was so beautiful. You know, it's so nicely gelling with what we just learned in Atma Bodha. When we talk of Mat Chitta, Mat Parama, Matpara. What are we supposed to be dwelling on? On that consciousness and that one substratum on which everything else is. The Jagat Karana, that Parameshwara. The cause of all the causes. No? Very, very beautifully described and explained, Vela. I think we'll go through this life of Brahmachari also tomorrow. Today we didn't have enough time for the Gita shloka. Tomorrow maybe we can dwell a little more. We'll stop at 6:15. We'll give 15 minutes and we'll take it up tomorrow. I would urge every one of us, in order for us to assimilate this beautiful knowledge, is for us to individually go through the PDF ourselves and make our own understanding. And then when we listen to whoever is expounding the shloka, it becomes clearer and clearer. That's the whole point. Otherwise, it'll only remain in the head. So we'll stop here today. Thank you very much, Bela. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Dhanyavad. Gurudev. Jai Gurudev.